Happy Hempfest, everybody. Stoked for the 25th anniversary Hempfest today. So I'm Kari Boiter, and I am a candidate for the Montana legislature in a highly competitive district out of Billings, Montana. And I actually made it through the primary. I'm the Democratic nominee for House District 44 for the Montana legislature. And with your help, I can make it through the general election in November. So what I want to talk to you here on this stage today about is, what is legalization? What does it look like? And how much work do we have ahead in the future? So legalization does not involve locking people up for cannabis. That's not legalization. Legalization doesn't mean we leave people who were locked up for cannabis before. We don't leave them behind. We make sure that all those folks who are serving time for cannabis are let out. That's what legalization is. And legalization means that we can grow cannabis in our backyards. We can grow it in a small operation in our bedrooms. We can grow cannabis ourselves. It's not only left to the huge corporations to grow cannabis for us. And there's some other things about legalization that are important that we have not accomplished here yet. For example, people are still losing their jobs due to cannabis use. That's not legalization, right? So whether it's through drug testing or it's through professional licenses, lawyers, doctors, teachers who are losing their licenses for cannabis use, we need to make sure that those people aren't having to risk that anymore for simple cannabis use. Housing. People are still losing their houses for cannabis. If you have public housing and you're a medical marijuana patient, that's a conflict that could keep you from getting public housing. And not to mention rentals. In my home state of Montana, what happens is if you're going to grow your own as a patient, you have to have your landlord's permission to do so. And the problem with that is that we don't have enough caregivers to provide for our patients. We have new rules taking effect here in 10 days that make it illegal for a caregiver to provide for more than 2 patients at a time. And so that means that the vast majority of our patients are going to have to grow their own. And if they're renting, they need to get their landlord's permission to do so. If they cannot do either of those things, they lose their medical marijuana status. Obviously, people are still losing their children over cannabis use. So as we move forward into this new territory where people can legally have cannabis and consume cannabis, what about people who have children? You know, obviously people have alcohol in their homes, they smoke tobacco, and when cannabis is truly legal, we're going to have to figure out how this is going to go without people having to risk losing their children over it. Never mind those kids who are left behind when their parents are incarcerated for cannabis, which is a whole nother topic. And the other thing that's really at risk right now is people who use cannabis can be denied organ transplants. I don't know if you all knew that, but if you had some problem with your kidney or your liver, they're going to deny you your organ transplant unless you abstain from using cannabis. And the problem with that is, if you go down to the Rick Smith Symposium tent, Rick Smith was a friend of mine, and he was denied a transplant because of his cannabis use. And what they told him is, you need to stop using cannabis in order to get your new organs. Well, he was using it to help him cope with the side effects of dialysis that he was undergoing 4 times a week. So he literally could not have survived the dialysis without the cannabis, and without the new kidney, he's going to have to keep using dialysis forever. So he ended up dying without being able to get his organ transplant because of cannabis use. So what can you do about these things? You can take action. All of us can take action. So the very first thing you want to do if you're going to be an advocate for criminal justice reform is do your research. You want to make sure you know what you're talking about when you're educating people about these topics. And then after you do your research and you get some facts behind you, the next thing you want to do is talk to people. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your coworkers, talk to your parents, your family members. It can be an uncomfortable situation at first, but the more that you talk to people about this, the more that they understand there's no stigma about this any longer. And that's also going to make it easier for you when you go and you talk to your lawmakers. The next most important step. They can't make laws and pass laws without hearing from their constituents, you, the people. And so practicing talking to your neighbors and your family members is going to help you be better when you go in to talk to these lawmakers. And then the next step beyond that is running for office yourself. You know, these are citizen legislatures. Congress is made up of average, everyday citizens, and we can't expect them to represent our interests if we're not willing to represent our own interests. So really think long and hard about whether or not you can run for some elected office, whether that's a city council seat, could be a school board, could be all the way up to the legislature or Congress. It's incumbent on us to stand up and fight for what we believe in. And if you're not interested in doing that, find a candidate who is. We need your support. We need volunteers. We need people to endorse our campaigns. We need people to make phone calls for us. You know, certainly police aren't going to be supporting my campaign. Private prisons are not going to be supporting my campaign. Big oil is not going to be supporting my campaign. But all of you can do all sorts of things, little things to help me get elected, starting with sharing my Facebook page, liking my Facebook page, Friends of Kari Boiter. You can help contribute money to get me elected. You know, there's a campaign going on with a lot of people running for office here called I Got 5 on It. If you can put $5 towards helping me get elected, come and talk to me right after this speech and help me get to the Montana legislature. All of us can play a role. We can all do our part, and I just want to encourage you to take that next step to really get involved and get engaged in your community. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Kari, I really want to just applaud you.